I would like to introduce you the background of the conference, where all has to emerge from. In my presentation, Smart Buildings, Smart Qualification, I will give you a short overview of the project and our undertaking behind this event. The conference is part of the final steps of the Erasmus Plus KA3 project as HVET, Smart Development of Higher Vocational Education and Training for Highly Skilled and Mobile Workforce, which is now running for a bit than 2 years. As first, I have to introduce you the partners of the consortium who worked very hard to get to this point. First, we have from Croatia the project leader, Craft College, together with the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing. Then from Slovenia, partners are the Regional Chamber of Crafts and Small Businesses Krško, the School Center Novo Mesto, and the Institute of the Republic of Slovenia for Vocational Education and Training. From Italy, partners are ECIPA and Centrofon. Strong supporters are our associated partners, the Agency for Vocational Education and Training and Adult Education from Croatia, as well as the Italian region Emilia-Romagna and the Higher Technical Institute ETS Tech. The goal of the project was to deliver a new joint higher vocational education and training qualification of the expert in building automation, which is in line with employers' present and future needs. It is based on work-based learning and integrates mobility of learners and workers. One of the starting points for this goal was the study of the Buildings Performance Institute Europe with the title, "Is Europe ready for the smart buildings revolution?" And clear answer was no. No country was fully ready to take the advantage of the benefits the smart revolution will entail, including greener, healthier, and more flexible energy use. Thus, we have started with a comprehensive analysis of employers' needs, taking into account strategic, analytic, and sectorial backgrounds to define the qualification profile of the expert in building automation. More than 110 employers from Croatia, Slovenia, and Italy were involved in questionnaires, focus groups, workshops, expert groups. After almost 1 year, we have defined a qualification profile based on which we have developed national curricula of the expert and determined which parts of the curricula can be run jointly. Guidebooks for assessment, recognition of prior knowledge, as well as teaching and training materials are essential part for the future implementation by educational providers. It is important to mention that all 3 curricula were formally verified by the relevant regional or national agencies and ministries and have a green light for its implementation. In the final stages, we have organized 4 two-day train-the-trainer events with participation of more than 50 persons, mainly VET teachers and trainers, mentors, and company trainers. The feedback was extremely positive, especially as we have shared our specific knowledge of building automation in form of theoretical and practical exercise. The final product was endorsed by business support institutions. 16 chambers of crafts and trade, chambers of economy, and specialized association in field of electrotechnics have signed the memorandum of understanding, giving the joint qualification full support in running the program after the end of project lifetime. In order to engage also VET students and learners, we have organized an online event, Building the Future of Construction, Automation, 3D and Digital Evolution, some 10 days ago with participation of more than 100 students. 3 excellent speakers gave great insights to students how 3D printing is connected to building automation, how smartphones are being built in the USA, and what can we expect the future will bring us. So, who is the expert in building automation? The profile of the expert is set at level 5 of the European qualification framework and can be especially attractive to students with vocational education and training background and those already in employment. It can contribute to lifelong learning by being accessible and attractive for adults and non-traditional learners. And thirdly, as it includes a high percentage of work-based learning, it is seen as valuable and relevant by employers. The qualification profile of the expert combines advanced technical and management skills. The expert is being the missing part in the process of creation, planning, and design of building automation systems. The expert will have the competence to understand that the buildings are a hub of different electroenergetic systems, which we know today, or a hub of all the energy resources we use. They have to know their roles and how those different systems can be connected with each other. The new curricula will offer competences in hardware and software installation, testing, commissioning, as well as maintenance of building automation systems. On the other side, the future students will acquire competences of management and communication skills, which were stated as very important by the employer. The expert will understand how and why investment into building automation is done, what are the savings, and what is the role of building automation in general with its specific regulation. A further characteristic of the qualification profile is that it was developed jointly between Croatia, Slovenia, and Italy, so the competences of the expert are identically recognized both by educational providers in Croatia, Slovenia, and Italy, as well as by the labor market. The qualification of the expert is also in line with the EU goals set by different strategies for 2020, or now for 2030, or even further. Their joint objectives are reducing CO2 or greenhouse gases, increasing the share of renewable energy sources, strengthening the end user, and encouraging the creation of green jobs and qualification. Digitalization, more rapidly introduced by COVID, new policies and plans for the recovery of economy are setting new objectives towards the future. The goal of this conference is to see what digitalization and automation can bring us in the future and how can smart technologies change our way of living. We have gathered different experts from different countries and institutions over the EU who will tell us what are the policies of the EU will set for the future decades, how our villages and cities can be changed to be more smart, and how digitalization is influencing the construction sector. On the other side, we will also have the opportunity to get to know what EQF Level 5, as a hot topic in the educational world, will look like in the future, and how to run a program which teaches HVET students building automation. I would like firstly to introduce you Dimitrios Athanasiou, who is a civil engineer with a master's degree in international construction management. He has also graduated the National School of Public Administration in Greece. He joined the European Commission 4 years ago as a policy officer in the building team of the Energy Efficiency Unit in DG Energy. His work focuses on the proper implementation of the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, in particular with regards to the national long-term renovation strategies and the nearly zero energy buildings uptake within the EU. Dimitrios, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dimitrios Athanasiou, and I'm a policy officer in the European Commission in DG Energy, working in the buildings team for the energy performance of buildings. Thank you very much for this kind invitation. It's a great pleasure for us to be here, not only because we have the chance to communicate our policies for buildings, but also because it's important that we get feedback from you on the ground on what is happening in practice. Daniel, please feel free to let me know when my time is over, because there are so many things that I would like to share with you, but I'm sure I don't have the time. Briefly, it was only a couple of years ago when the European Commission came with a proposal for the Clean Energy for All Europeans package, which was about revising the whole energy legislation with an overall objective of putting energy efficiency first driving clean energy technologies systems, and modernizing the framework to the 2030 goals and placing citizens at the center of the discussion. As part of this proposal, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive was revised with the aim to increase the current low renovation rates, but also to modernize the building sector in the light of new technologies. Then it was last year, in 2019, that the new Commission came up with a European Green Deal, which took a step further by setting a vision for a fair and prosperous society with a modern, resource-efficient, and competitive economy with no emissions, greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So the new president wants Europe to be the first carbon-free continent by 2050. The European Green Deal includes a series of initiatives that have a direct impact on EU policy, on energy efficiency, and on renewable energy, as well as on buildings. And there are many things that we need to do if we want to achieve this new agenda for Europe under the European Green Deal. But in particular, we need to come up with a plan to increase the EU greenhouse gas emission reductions for 2030 to at least 50 or towards 55%. But also there are other initiatives such as the Renovation Wave initiative, which was recently adopted by the European Commission. What is the problem? The problem is that buildings, despite the efforts so far and the, let's say, well-established legislative framework of which came up with the Energy Performance of Building Directive, and despite the fact that new buildings now are high energy performing, and compared to existing building stock, they consume 50 to 80% less energy. The problem is that the existing building stock is still too big, and unless we do something, most of these buildings will be standing by 2050. So buildings are the major energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions producer in the EU, with almost 40% of the final energy consumption. Buildings are responsible for that, as well as 36% of greenhouse gas emissions. And as I said, most of the existing building stock was built before 2001, which means that they don't have the current energy performance standards. The real problem is that the renovation rate is very low. It's around 1% as an average in the European Union, according to a study that we have recently conducted. And unless we do something, then we will never reach our objectives. So yes, quickly, I have already explained that we have a well-established legislation for buildings, which is the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, together with the Energy Efficiency Directive and the Renewables Directive. All this, they create a solid basis for the energy market and the construction sector. However, as I said, the problem is that we need to find a solution and to try to hold back barriers throughout the whole value chain chain for buildings if we are to increase the current low renovation rates. As a follow-up of the European Green Deal, in the European Commission, we had to develop a study, an impact assessment actually, in order to see how we will be able to achieve this new, more ambitious agenda under the European Green Deal. For that reason, we came up with a new climate target plan for 2030, and the proposal of the Commission is that if we are to achieve the decarbonization vision for 2050, then we need to go at least up to 55 greenhouse gases emission reduction by 2030. But this is the Commission's proposal, and which is now under negotiations with the European Council and the European Parliament. Of course, actions are required across all sectors, but buildings are without question a major contribution to achieving this goal. This will require, according to this, to the impact assessment, this will require an enormous amount of actions, but I can briefly refer to some legislative framework update that will be needed. For example, I can refer to the Renewables Energy Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive. Both directives need to be revised to not just to endorse the more ambitious targets, but also to try to see what measures are needed in the legislation in order to support this new ambitious agenda. We can also talk about the update of the emissions trading system, the ETS, with a possibility to extend its scope to construction and transport. And of course, after the adoption of the renovation wave, that I will be talking about it later, we need to also see if targeted review of specific provisions of the energy performance of the Buildings Directive is needed. So the renovation wave. The renovation wave was recently adopted on 14th of October 2020, and it's a major initiative of the European Green Deal. I can assure you that buildings are very high in the political agenda at this moment, and we found out with the renovation wave that buildings now fall under a more broader agenda. So it's not like it used to be 10 years ago, where the energy performance of building directive and energy performance standards was, let's say, the core of our business. Or if I may say, the energy efficiency of buildings. Now we can see the agenda is broader, digitalization, which is part of what the discussion is today. We can see about circularity, sustainability, aesthetics. So it's much more broader, and I will provide some thoughts during my presentation. So the renovation wave took a form of a strategic communication and accompanied by an action plan with concrete legislative, financing and enabling measures for the years to come. It also includes actions at all levels, local, regional, and European, national, and also European. So the idea is that with the European, with the renovation wave, our major goal is to at least double the renovation rate by 2030 and renovate at least 35 million buildings. By doing this, the idea is that we will reduce greenhouse gas emissions from buildings by 60% and also reduce energy consumption in general from the building sector by 14% and in particular from the heating and cooling sector by 18%. It's also about jobs. It will create new jobs, all this renovation wave, which are green, smart, and local jobs. Together with the renovation wave, which is, as I said, a communication document, an annex with specific actions for the years to come, but also a staff working document with specific funding solutions for different kind of financing. The renovation wave came together with the adoption of two legal acts for the smart readiness indicator, which is very, very relevant for our discussion today, but also for recommendations for energy poverty. The smart readiness indicator was actually came up as a proposal in the recent revision of the energy performance of building directive, and on the 14th of October we have adopted a delegated act and an implementing act for the smart readiness indicator. These two acts describe the methodology, the technicalities, everything that we could come up after many studies and great discussion with stakeholders for more than 1 year. And then the implementing act provides solutions to member states for the optional introduction of such a scheme in their legislation, and also some opinions of how they could potentially combine the smart readiness indicator with existing schemes such as the energy performance certificates. So let's go back to the renovation wave. The key principles of the renovation wave, as I mentioned before, now it's broader. It's not just about energy performance of buildings. It's about a horizontal application of the energy efficiency first principle. It's about affordability of housing and energy poverty. This is a very big issue. So after all, it's about putting citizens in the center and see how we can make buildings more affordable to citizens, but also how we can endorse better health and environmental standards. It's also about integrating renewable solutions and decarbonization of the heating and cooling system. It's about life cycle thinking and endorsing the principles of the circular economy. It's about the digital transition. This is something I copy-paste from the renovation wave communication about smart buildings and how we have to move from how we have to incorporate the digitalization and new technologies in buildings and move to district and city level approaches. And finally, it's also about aesthetics and architectural quality, very important for the built environment in general. There are many actions that we need to consider to actually make the renovation wave happen. It's about, first of all, strengthening information and the legal certainty of around buildings. So we're considering now, and this will be done through the through our proposal for a targeted review of the energy performance of buildings directive. So one option is to introduce mandatory minimum requirements. For example, when a building is to be rented out or to be sold, then this building has to reach a certificate level of performance in order to be able to rent it or sell it. It's about updating the energy performance certificates. It's about the role of public buildings, digital logbooks, building renovations passports, many ideas that came up with the previous negotiation of the directive, but still we see now that the market is more mature and ready to incorporate these solutions. A big discussion, of course, it's always about reinforcing funding for building renovations and also providing technical assistance, which has proven to be very important if we want to further leverage funding, public funding or European funding with private budget. It's also about aggregation of projects. So there are many elements there. I could briefly refer to the ELENA, which is a project that exactly provides technical assistance to member states, but also to local authorities to actually come up with solid renovation solutions. A very important issue is the skills and qualifications necessary for the construction sector. It's not only the need for workforce. If we are to double the renovation rate, that means that we need to double the workforce as well. But it is also about specific skills and qualifications that this workforce has to achieve. The digitalization of the building sector is here. We will be talking later about building information modeling or management systems, or even even if we need to just apply the nearly zero energy building targets, it's not always straightforward that engineers and builders, contractors can undertake this work. It's also, yes, it's time.
I would like to ask you to slowly get to the end.
I will speed up. So very quickly, it's also about the district approaches, but also the new European Bauhaus concept. Yes, smart buildings, neighborhood and district approaches, smart communities are very evident in the renovation wave. There are many things that I would like to share with you, but we don't have the time. The focus areas of this renovation wave is tackling and phasing out of the worst performing buildings and alleviation of energy poverty. It's about public buildings with special focus to schools, hospital and care facilities, and decarbonization of heating and cooling, and also try to think big from just one building cell towards district neighborhood approaches and smart cities. You can find here a set of available financing solutions for direct investments to leverage private investments for research and innovation, technical assistance, and so on. And then two more slides, one related to green jobs, which is the agenda today. And we will, we have an action plan to build around Build Up Skills initiative and the new 2030, not 2020, European Skill Agenda. And then there again, I need to mention also the Just Transition Fund, which could actually finance reskilling, especially in territories under which, for example, coal regions. These regions are eligible, and reskilling is one of the activities that could be financed. And then finally, the new European House is also important to be mentioned because it's a platform that will combine sustainability with art and design for the buildings of the future. And then many things related to digitalization. It's about smart readiness indicator I just referred to. With Horizon Europe, we can support innovation and digitalization. Building information modeling is not mentioned in the energy performance of building directive, but now it's mentioned in the renovation wave, and we will try to see if there is a scope to incorporate beams in the EPPD. Also, discussion for the digital industrial platforms, energy communities. Yes, so more or less, I tried. What I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of things happening in parallel at the same time, both in DG Energy, but also in other DGs, and we try to combine all these different actions to come up with a better vision for the buildings of the future. I'm sorry that I have to that I couldn't be more detailed, but I'm happy to take your questions now if there is time, or you can always contact me, and our doors are always open for further discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitrios. We will just have a quick round of questions because Dimitrios has unfortunately to leave because of other businesses. So please use the chat box if you have specific questions for Dimitrios, and I will read them out loud, so he can try to answer you. There is one question. If you could please explain us a bit more about the Smart Readiness Indicator. What does it include? What it describes, and so on.
So very quickly,
it can be briefly.
Yes, very, very quickly, because if you see in my slides, there is a link, and I think the best thing to do is just to visit our website and download actually the Smart Readiness Indicator. So the Smart Readiness Indicator will be a rating system, for example, like the energy performance building certificate, that will be rating the readiness of a building to be smart. So we identified the methodology to do so. We had a very, very broad public consultation with stakeholders for more than 1 year on that. We have tested it as well at existing buildings, and we came up with a methodology of how to do it and what are the elements to be considered and how it could be incorporated in other schemes. This is the original Commission proposal was to have this indicator obligatory, but then after the discussion with member states, it was decided finally to be an optional scheme. But the idea is to see, actually, since this smartness idea is coming more and more in the discussion, we think that it is necessary for someone, either it is if it is an owner or a tenant, it doesn't matter, to know if his building is ready for the digital agenda in terms of demand and response, in terms of communicating with other systems. For example, it's also about introducing electromobility elements, so building automation and control systems. So this is all about what is there and how all this can facilitate the communication of the building with the user, but also with the grids, for example, in the energy system.
One more question. Will it be somehow connected to the taxation of CO2 emissions or any kind of incentives awarding those being more smart efficient? Or is it simply by making money from smart responses to smart signal prices?
This is another discussion about the taxation of CO2 and the ETS expansion to buildings. It's a big discussion, and it doesn't necessarily has to be linked with the smart readiness indicator. The possible taxation of CO2 it will be relevant, of course, and it will play a role maybe for the EPCs, and if there is a link of the EPCs with SRI, yes, all this could be connected, but at the moment, but still the discussion has only just started, I don't see a direct link of smartness and CO2.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I think there are no more questions. So Dimitrios, thank you for your presentation and giving us an overview of the European policies.
It is a real pity that I will not be able to follow the discussion because it's really interesting. But I will follow up with you bilaterally.
Okay.
Keep us Thank you all so much for the kind invitation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have seen what we can expect of the future in the EU. We see that digitalization is getting even more into building renovation and enabling even greater energy efficiency, creation of new jobs, and we cannot get out of the sight that also the well-being of the users of the building.
This is true.
I'm sure also that this new qualification of the expert of building automation perfectly fits into this renovation wave, but I think there will also be a great need for further skilled experts in different fields working in building renovation.
Exactly.
So, thank you, Dimitrios. And when we speak about the future, I think this is the moment to invite our next speaker, Michal Postranecki, to present us his study of a city of the future. Just to mention, we have over 120 participants currently. So Michal is a Czech architect. His portfolio includes works in the Czech Republic, Russia, and the USA. He's been working and living in the United States since 2000, where he had designed numerous projects. In 2017, he has founded the Center for the Future. It is a platform within the Czech Institute of Informatics, Robotics, and Cybernetics, CTU Prague. The center connects and transfers knowledge between the academic, commercial, and municipal entities, and is focused on the further development of cities of all sizes and their parts, regions, and other urban structures in the landscape, also with the help of the implementation of innovative technologies. He is also the author of the concept of the virtual model of Prague, and his latest projects are an architectural study of a new downtown district of 4 hectares in the city of Wisła in Poland, as well as the conceptual study of Milltown, City of the Future, covering an area of approximately 350 acres. So, Michal, the floor is yours.
Hello. Thank you for introduction, and thank you for having me here. I will, in the next 15 minutes, I'll try to introduce you a project I was working on. I'm author of for Central Bohemia region. So before we really, before I start to talk about our project, I would like to start with where we are heading in the near future, because today it's more about technology, innovation, digital technologies, and thinking and behavior change. I'm an urbanist, architect and urbanist, so there will be much more to, and I was really working on this concept from much more sides than from those three, but these were very important. So where we are really heading to, we are looking for connected and informative cities, not only cities, but also towns and regions and villages. The picture is trying to show that we need to have a lot of information about buildings, smart buildings, intelligent buildings, but also about space, public space, and other infrastructure. And then we really, based on this infrastructure, on this knowledge, we can do a lot of decisions. In the future, me as an architect, I can design buildings much better way than, and cities much better way than I could before. We are heading through the digitalization to another virtual world using augmented realities, building digital twins, first before we even build a physical place. Not only city, part of the city, but also building or part of the building, or in even we can first simulate any process in this urban space we are looking at. What we are looking forward in the very near future are robots, and they will be involved in everything what we are doing. Some of them will have low intelligence, some of them will have very high intelligence because of the AI. We are talking a lot about autonomous cars, but robots for us will be much more important inside our buildings, and they will really build a new kind of behavior, around the collaboration with robots. And I believe we have to see them as a friends, not only as robots who are taking our jobs. So now I'm going to move very quickly to Milton, City of the Future. It was Governor of Central Bohemia, Ms. Pokorná Jermanová, who came up with this idea. And our Center of the City of the Future was awarded with that project. So the basic idea was very clear from the first moment: design a city with the unique DNA, which will have, which will be from the first moment actually very recognizable. City should emerge and grow into the prosperous future, a city that cooperates with surrounding and is a good neighbor. I believe it's very important to build, when you design something and build something, so you also care about your neighbors and you want to have a very good relationships. So the vision was based on simple but very fundamental assumptions. We are building city for people of all generations, animals, robots of all kinds, who can coexist in one place. A city with strong economy and society of agile people. So as was said before, everything is done around the agile people. An experimental city based on knowledge and innovation of the 21st century. We are building city, or trying to build a city for 21st century with people who are born right now. They will be actually the citizens of that city of the future. So we have to think from the, let's say, view standpoint from, let's say, 50 years from now to build a city or design the city right now. Yeah, the vision is that we are building a city where a green and sustainable environment is necessity. We take as an axiom. City pleasant from morning to late night. It's difficult from this time of COVID, but even I expect we will get to the normal pretty soon, let's say, and we have to enjoy our city and our environment all 24/7. A smart city with intelligent buildings surrounded by nature parks and urban space for relaxing and meetings and other activities. And city where the traditional urban archetypes meet futuristic design, of course, because I'm architect, I like to see also futuristic design. A healthy city, beautiful, walkable, friendly, and pleasant to visit, but for most of all, a resilient city. But when you build some city or design some city, you have to think about economy, because you cannot just build a city where nothing will be working, because all cities are based on competitiveness and ability to compete with other cities. So you have to bring resources, and then when the resources are people, and people are creating economy. So a green economy based on a high level of education and expertise as an engine of sustainable growth and urban competitiveness. The largest parts will be played by economics of quarter sector, of the knowledge sector, like a science and research and higher education. And the tertiary sector, known also as a service sector. And we are talking a lot now about smart services. So we are moving really to that sectors, to those sectors of economy. And you have to, when you build a city, you have to have everything involved in that city. You have to have a lot of content. And this city is really based on a collaboration between academics, research, applied research, manufacturing, and the regular services city should have. We work a lot on specific things like energy, water, transportation, but you can see what else is part of the city from university campus, which is the most, it's a heart of the whole city, and all those other functions are present in our design. Now I'll go to nicer pictures. So if you can see my arrow, the city is designed on the brownfield. There was a army site. Now it's abandoned. You can see something that looks like airport. It's abandoned airport. It even doesn't have a license. So we are keeping that as a reserve from the future, and we are using that as a polygon for autonomous cars right now. In the future, we'll see on the north side, you can see the main part of our development of that city. City is actually, we expect it will have from 15 to 30,000 people in the future. And then from the south part of that abandoned airport is actually more something what I call autonomous cities, where you have where you have almost no people, everything automatized. And on the left side, it's a temporary tent, because we have a big open arena here for 200,000 people to organize some concerts. You can see it from the other side. You can see it in bigger detail, and you will see this is our energy and waste center, residential, more residential. This is the heart of the whole project. I'll show you in detail now. So you can see and this is actually the green building is divided in 3 parts, but this is our really heart of that. This is that university, which is shared place for universities, many universities coming together with specific research, or education and research. You also, and this middle part or center part with those fins above, those are residential, but below there are four levels of research and different labs, and here you can see Science Museum and Pentagon on the right side. Now, so in the detail, this is the energy center and waste center, and also we have a lot of glass houses, because we are trying to connect also the energy resources with actually the green city architecture. Now you can see also we dedicated a lot of space for sports, outdoor sports, but we also have a lot of hotels and gallery, and then some government agencies, buildings. We call it Pentagon. This is something what is something of a shopping center combined with admin center. This is actually our transportation hub. Because in the center of that location will be new railroad, and this is actually a railroad station. I also built something what's called monorail and connects most of those main buildings. And we have garages, and then the center of our mass transportation center, MAS. mobility as a service, transportation service. We also have buildings like this, which is actually a robotic rehabilitation center. So we have also health as a part of our city. And then a couple more pictures. Visualization. This is that transportation hub, where you can see in the back railroad station, monorail, but you also can see the autonomous ITS system, a lot of micromobility, and that was very big question how to organize all those together, all those transformation to mobility actually ways together, and who will have right of the way when you organize it. Here, next picture. This is that you can see we have a lot of water places and a lot of greens in the whole area, and then I hope we will, when we build something there in the future, we have a lot of green also on roofs and as a part of our structures. This is that, I call it Green Hills Mall of Knowledge. This is at the heart of the project, where students are actually, and research are inside 3 big buildings connected together. Because I believe because those changes in a climate push us more inside the buildings, but we don't want to really close buildings. So I'm trying to build also, or proposing to build big open spaces which you can use and accommodate for your life for 24/7. Of course, with less air conditioning, but it's a natural type of air conditioning of those spaces. This is, of course, I was trying also to place there some architecture. This is Golden Cube, the City Brain Institute of City Science. We expect that everything will be actually organized from here, but also there will be a lot of public spaces where you can meet and educate ourselves, because education is the biggest part of that. And as again, very important thing, you can see we have inside spaces and outside spaces covered. So we can actually react to different climate changes. When I design something, I really like to have outside and inside connected together as much as possible, as green as possible. And you can also see that monorail, which is connecting all those main parts of the city. Science museum, or I call it Seven Senses to Infinity, which is scientific museum, which in the structure inside, you would have an endless path to go through all those 7 buildings, and you are most of those expositions are made by a virtual reality and augmented reality. But you can. This is our education scientific center basically. But we also need to have a feelings of classic city, I believe so. So this is the little bit taste of traditional organized city, and this is actually the city for. This is a downtown for students and all those centennials. That's what it's called, Centennial City Downtown. But we also have, because we have tradition in this place of organizing a big, huge events. So this is. We built actually an open arena for 200 to 300,000 people, expecting those concerts to follow up in this area. And this, you already saw this, but my last thing is I would like to, we created a visualization. So I would like to walk you through for next 2 minutes. And this, after that, it will be end of my presentation. So. That was our promotion video. Thank you very much for having me here. And whoever we are really looking for anybody who would like to collaborate with us with the future on the vision of the city of the future. So I'll give you my email address to the chat, and please feel free to connect me. So then I'm passing my screen to organizers.
Thank you, Michal. We have seen that what is an architect's view of the future of the buildings and cities and towns. We see that digitalization, robots, IoT, green economy will change the DNA of the urban structure. Although this presentation may look like very futuristic, but we're already now witnesses how things can change very rapidly to a next level with digitalization. So we had Michal's presentation as an architect's view. So let's see what the construction sector says about the new technologies and digitalization. We had a slight change of the agenda. So instead of Miss Ana Moreno, our next speaker will be Lorenzo Nissim. Lorenzo graduated in economics and social sciences at the Bocconi University in Milan. After he had collected several years of experience in managerial positions, he started to deepen the theme of building information modeling. And most of the contents of the Institute of BIM Italia website are edited by him. He organizes and manages events, training courses on the electronic management of buildings information. And one of the main activities he carried out was the management of Rete Ferroviarie Italiane and the Federico II University of Naples. In 2016, he has also published a book with the EPC, BIM Electronic Modeling of Building Information for Sustainable Construction. So Lorenzo, the floor is yours. Please also keep the 15 minutes in mind because we're already a bit behind.
Thank you. Hi, good morning to everybody. Yeah, so today I will try to bring to your attention what is actually our job every day. So the promotion of this new methodology that we call BIM. I will try to explain what this means and why it is so important for the future. We just watched very beautiful presentation that give us some good vision of the future. But I will jump this. I had already my good presentation. But I would like to start from some facts that actually I think is very, very important to keep in mind when we try to look at the future. So this is a very easy graph that explains us what is the productivity level in the industry. So how much people can produce in the construction industry, and we see the blue line comparing to other industry in red line. We can see very, very clear that in construction industry, the labor productivity is even decreased in the last decades. So we got some problem here. It's not actually very efficiency. There's not efficiency, and so this can make very, very hard to get new level of performance in the building and in the environment, in the city. I mean, we really have a big problem here. So many studies can prove that one of the main problems of the industry is that it is actually not able to use the new technology, the new information technology. And this is due to many facts of the construction. I mean, it's a very complex process. Usually, we talk about very long time project, and there are so many different professionals with different skills, with different language, that it's very difficult to work together, to collaborate, and so to improve the output, the final output. And so this is actually the main problem. Is the difficulty to talk each other, to communicate, to share information. We can use a specific word for this problem, that is interoperability. And this is actually one of the main problem in the industry. And here I just show some the concept. I mean, if we are not able to exchange in an easy way information, we need every time to rethink and to find a new solution to exchange information and data, and to let the other understand what we are doing and what we would like to do. When we have interoperability between all parties, we can make the system very easier. So we don't need to spend so much effort in find a way to exchange our information. So this is actually the core of what we call the methodology, the BIM methodology. Okay, this slide show even some figures. You can see the study made by the NIST in USA. But so all the actors involved in a building process pays a very high cost because of lack of interoperability. And so here we go to the point. The BIM is methodology. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. So it's some actions that make us able to, first of all, digitalize all the information produced and used during the building process, but solve the problem of interoperability, so make possible to collect and centralize all the information, and then of course to make this information available to all the partners involved in the project. So basically here the main concept of what the BIM methodology means. So if in the past years we had like many different phase where all the actors involved produce some information, but just a little part of this information then is exchanged and shared with the other parties. And so we had like a line in the time that is very disconnect between each actor. The idea is to centralize this exchange. And here we go to what we can see about the BIM methodology, that is actually a 3D model. Because it's much more complex. Actually, the 3D model has many information in it. Usually they are attached to a single object. So each thing that we can see inside the model actually a database of information. And this is what can really improve the efficiency in the industry. And here, very quickly, I mean, we don't have time to discuss this, but when we are able to collect and exchange this information, we can really improve all the phases and the process of a building project. Starting from a very easy visualization that we can have thanks to our 3D model, but then this can improve collaboration, and for what maybe concern our focus today, all the data that we can collect can be used for analysis, and this thanks to the algorithm and thanks to the software can bring the design, the decision we make on a design project at a higher level, because we can run very sophisticated analysis. But again, we can take these all this information just in our hand. We can go in the on site with all the information we need, or we can just download in a couple of click all the exact number of products that we need to buy, so we can very quickly know how much is the cost of some decision, and we can even improve the prefabrication and so on and so on. And this is all because we can have very valuable information and take a good decision thanks to that. This is just very silly video, but can show the idea. This is like simulation of the building process. And so we can see here the date, and here how it should appear the project in reality. And but this is just to show what this means. And this data came from another actor, that is the architect, and so the building company can take this data and add some knowledge and can run this kind of simulation. This can be very, very quickly, very effective. This is just maybe the first step that we have to think. So the idea to collect all the data, and then we actually have a step further that we should consider. If the idea is to go in that direction that we saw in the past two presentation. So the idea that we collect all the data, but is still some kind of static data. So once we collect that, we can share, but basically they are not going to be modified. So the next step is the digital twin. So the idea that our digital building is actually connected to the physical one, and every time the physical one change something or get some new information, the digital one as well is uploaded with new data. But even the opposite is actually possible. So I can change my digital model, saying that I want different illumination, I want a different level of temperature and so on. And so my physical building make the change. And so here the last two slides, and I think I'm in the time, yeah. Just to say what IBIMI, the Institute of Building Information in Italy, and the Building Smart, that is this global non-profit association, is doing. So basically, what we're trying to do is to understand what is the business need of all actors involved in the building project, and then thanks to complicated process, but we find the right solution to allow fluent exchange of data. And we involved all the software vendors in the world, the most important, but even the smallest, and help them to implement this solution. We're always talking about some information technology solution. So this, once the software house has implemented this kind of standard, all the professionals can use some tools, some software that allow them to talk in an easy way with the other actors. These are some of the most important standards that has been developed. IFC is very, very popular, but there are many others. And last thing is the training, of course. This is the other part that is essential to make the industry able to develop innovation and so better environment. And this is the certification program that is actually delivered in most of the world already, and offer some introduction level course, so it's possible to understand how all this BIM methodology works and how itself can start this process of digitalization. And here I finish. I hope right in time. Yes.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Just in time. We have seen what are the problems of productivity of the construction sector and how BIM can change it. Collecting, sharing information becomes one of the essential parts from design to building and maintenance of buildings. But our next speaker, Franz Bogovic, will give us an insight of a bit different aspect of smartness. We mostly talk about smart cities, smart homes. However, we leave out an important part of our community, and these are villages. So Franz's professional career constitutes of several different posts, such as agricultural extension expert, agricultural trade entrepreneur, mayor of Krško municipality, member of Slovenia National Assembly, and finally the Minister of Agriculture and Environment. Today, Bogovic is currently serving his second term as a member of the European Parliament, where he is engaged in topics related to agriculture, rural and regional development, cohesion policy, as well as energy. Mr. Bogovic is also leading the Smart Villages initiative in the European Parliament. With ensuring EU funding of pilot projects and preparatory actions on smart villages in the last few years, Bogovic is working closely with the European Commission so that the smart villages are going to become a significant part of the future EU regional and rural development policy. So, Mr. Bogovic, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everybody. Thanks a lot to give me this opportunity that I participate at the final conference of the program From Smart Homes to Smart Communities. Thanks for this introduction. Daniel, I think that you explained what I worked in past, and so it's clear that today I will try to explain a little bit more about my work on topic of smart villages. I prepared one presentation, so I will share the screen with you with this presentation. Yes, okay, thanks a lot. As I said, I will speak about smart villages. You present me before, so as you said, I've started in municipality Krško. Now I'm a European Member of Parliament. In both terms, I'm a member of Agriculture and Rural Development Committee plus Committee for Regional Development. At home, I'm still apple producer. That's picture from my orchards. And smart villages are the most important topic in the European Parliament. Why smart villages? When I arrived in European Parliament and work in these two committees, I work a lot. I heard a lot about digitalization, about urbanization, and I recognized that we will have still bigger digital gap between rural and urban areas. Then I started, and also European Commission started this initiative about smart villages, through which we try to stop this depopulation of rural areas and how to ensure quality life comparable with urban life also in rural areas. So it's necessary to deliver new opportunities for business, for high-value jobs. The preconditions is modern infrastructure, this basic from transport, environment, energy, schools, health and social, shops, offices, banks. But we know that broadband connection are precondition for normal lives. Through the COVID crisis, we recognized this very well, that we learn from home, that we work at home, and it's necessary to have good infrastructure, broadband infrastructure. Resilient green and digital agriculture are also part of answers on these strategies which European Union has. And usually when I heard a lot about smart cities, usually in European Union we speak about cities under 2,100 people. We saw one case from ideas for Czech Republic. We have similar cities close to Wien, and but in rural areas there are also many good cases, but it's necessary to put it together on one idea, and this concept brings this together. Digitalization, as we said, is essential for development for smart rural technologies, and here is we know a lot about this IoT, data analytic tools, artificial intelligence, and in smart village concept we bring this in many fields: agriculture, mobility, energy, tourism, rural economies, health, social aspects. So there are many things which are connected with people. When we need digitalization as tool, but behind this, that we have this technical innovation for smart villages are very important. Also, social innovation that people put together, and especially important is the knowledge of people. As you see, here are some examples which already exist. As I said, if we start with social aspects, we have new jobs in long-term care. We also work in my municipality on this. We can speak about e-learning. E-health is here very important. Agriculture, very important part of this are short supply chain, precision farming, satellites which are using in agriculture, automation. We have many cases also that we use robots and other things. So in agriculture there are many good examples. Mobility, ride sharing, vehicle sharing, ride services for elderly, electric vehicles, bikes and other e-bike networks. So there are many cases which also already exist all around. As I said, in COVID crisis, we had a big advantage in this connection between consumers and producers. There are these new digital platforms for local producers and companies, and I think that this type of economy got big push. The shared economy. And big opportunities also, if we follow these goals of Green Deal, bio-based industry, where this bio-based materials replace fossil-based materials. Energy sector is also very important. Many things, many tools which are possible that we use in rural areas, solar, wind, biomass, smart grids, batteries, other things. So that many examples exist also here. Tourism in rural areas is more and more popular, and we know that without the digital platforms it's impossible to do this. And there are also many cases. For example, in Slovenia, we have villages distribute hotels and other things. Health, I mentioned, telemedicine, body sensors and other things, and also environment is very, very, very important, and we can really do a lot for greening the world through these cases which we have in smart villages. Next slide, please. These cases in municipality, as I mentioned, as I said, in my municipality, for example, we have Sopotniki, car rides for elderly people, social innovation, technical innovation, volunteers work together with municipality that people older than 65 years, they have free ride to hospitals, to shops and all other things. In also these cases in my neighborhood, in agriculture, the company Eurosat, what is very important, they connect people, local fruit producers on one side, then they use this digital technology in their sorting machine, they use robots, and that's also one case when we can see a lot of things. Long-term tourism, long-term care, Silver Village. This is one project which was financed by European money, and how to develop innovative solutions for long-term and elderly care in rural areas. I think it's a big opportunities, and we saw through this COVID crisis how important it is if we don't have only these big centralized houses for elderly people, and it's also a lot of possibility here. Okusi Posavia is the next case, Tastes of Posavia, the project where we connect wine producer, restaurants, other from the region and put together as gastronomic region, and I think these practical cases with which we can do. Next slide, please. About the European Union and what is going on, President of European Union von der Leyen said we now need to build a green, digital and resilient Europe, and smart villages can provide that for European rural areas. President of Commission also said that 20% of European money will be used in rural areas. And in past, we work a lot on these topics. In 2017, European Commission launched EU Action for Smart Villages. That happened in 2017. And then later, we worked on in European Union thematic group on smart rural business. There is a European Network for Rural Development. They worked a lot, and there are also many other things, digital innovation hubs and other things. And also politically, we accept also Bled Declaration on the base. We had a big European Union conference with 2 commissioners, and there it was a very important step in this development of these things. That you can continue. Next slide. Then we accept also a declaration, a resolution on this topic on 2018, and now in European proposals for financing, we have many opportunities in different funds: Common Agriculture Policy, Regional Development Fund, Social Fund, Cohesion Fund, Leader, as I said, also. Next Generation EU Recovery Plan. There are also funds for for these topics horizon, because 20% of money should go to digitalization and build this broadband connection, and these are very important topics. Please, next slide. European Parliament proposes in European Parliament we accept on Agri Committee and later on plenary session that in future common agriculture policy, then it will be necessary to have the smart villages strategies for each member state. And this will be next tool that it will be necessary to think about these topics in all countries and involve this thing I speak about in national strategies, how to use European money and how to make these rural areas developed and use these digital tools. At that moment, I also work on this, that we will establish a Smart Villages Consortium in Brussels, that it's very important that we bring on board also companies, like it was important for smart cities. And in European Parliament, we have also intergroup, we work on smart villages. But in Slovenia, I try to establish also a Smart Villages Hub, the hub where will be put together all these policies I spoke about, good cases, also good practices, and also to connect this stakeholder, and through this Smart Villages Hub help to prepare projects, try to find where it's possible to get European money, and also to connect municipalities with business sector. Next step, next slide. And this is the final slide, in which I say that usually this initiative, Smart Villages initiative, aim to create rural areas where people can and want to live, because innovative digital solutions make their lives easier and more comfortable. So thanks for this presentation, and sorry for these technical problems.
Thank you. Thank you, Franz. Just a moment. Thank you also for sharing the information. What are the possibilities, and what is the importance of villages, not only at the national level, but also at European level. The next presentation will be kind of different when comparing to the previous ones. We will skip to the educational part of this conference. So I would like to invite Hans Dahle, the president of Chain 5, to present us his presentation. Hans Dahle is the president of Chain 5, the European Community of Practice for Level 5 qualification. Chain 5 was founded in 2013 to give more attention to the European Level 5 area, next to the sectors for vocational education training, higher education, and also for HVET at higher levels. He's also general manager of a non-profit organization in the Netherlands, involved in issues related to lifelong learning. Before that, he was working for several institutions for professional higher education, having his last position as Dean of Faculty at the Amsterdam School of Business. Hans, the floor is yours. Hans, we don't hear you.
Thank you. Okay. Technical. Okay. You can hear me and can see me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the invitation for this project to tell more about level 5 and higher levels in the European context. It's not about smart building, but it's about having a smart framework to help you to give higher vocational education training. The opportunity Okay. It's an opportunity to give the status for higher vocational education training. I give some information. This is more technical, but if you're having at the end problems with what have told, and maybe a lot of questions, at the end there's my email address, so you can send questions to me. It's about what happened after 2013. First of all, I start to have it about higher education. Chain 5 is a community of practice. We are not a political network or organization, but we have contact with the 6 associations who are involved in vocational education and training. What about higher education? We are advocating for the short cycle higher education. Maybe you've heard about it in the last few years. There's a lot of discussions about that. So you have now in higher education short cycle, first cycle, the second cycle, and the third cycle. But looking at the common names we have in international setting, common names, we call the first cycle bachelor and the second cycle master, and the third cycle doctorate or PhD. But there's still not a common international name for the short cycle. So there's a question mark, but it's degree. They accepted in 2018 that it will be a formal degree in higher education. In the Bologna process, they decided to have this recognized. So that's a question mark. So we're advocating for that. It's really, really important to have short cycle higher education and relevant in countries if they have a binary system. You know, in higher education, there are 2 orientations. You have professional, University of Applied Sciences, and academic, and short cycle higher education mostly integrated in professional higher education. Like I said, the short cycle was adopted in 2018 by all the ministers, so also in Italy, Slovenia, other countries. So they have said, okay, we want to have short cycle higher education in the European higher education area, but it's not obligatory for the members. And it's not still always accepted by higher education institutions, that they are a little bit afraid of what is the status of short cycle higher education level 5. So they're offering bachelor and master, but not always willing to take part in offering short cycle higher education. What are the next steps for the future? And we are advocating for have one common name in Europe, and that's associate. They have it also in Hong Kong, they have it in Australia, Canada, United States, Netherlands, Flanders, etc. And having it mentioned in the diploma supplement with a structure for 4 cycles is not mentioned yet. In the website of the European higher education area, it's still talking about a 3-cycle system, but it's really important to talk about 4 cycles and the progression from the short cycle to the first cycle. And it's important for international collaboration for joint degrees and Erasmus Plus project. But a little bit officially a warning, important that transparency in offering short cycle has to be according to the criteria. So using Dublin descriptors, using credits, European credits, using the standards and guidelines for quality assurance, have a diploma supplement, talk about the progression to the first cycle. So if we're talking about short cycle higher education in a formal setting, also in a national area, then you have a same set of criteria as needed for the other cycles, degrees. So there's a misunderstanding. We have also a lot of qualifications, vocational education at a higher level, professional course, in-company training certificate, but they are under another category. But in some countries, they are using short cycle higher education, but the name is not protected. So we have to be very clear if it's about the status for this kind of qualifications. And you know, education is a national issue, and every government is responsible for its own national higher education area. Brussels is not saying you have to do this or that. It's a national issue. So short cycle is not standard to be seen as level 5 of the European qualifications framework, and as the corresponding level of the national qualifications framework. And then you need, if you're talking about level 5, short cycle higher education, there has to be a national discussion, a national decision, got taken by the government. You need a national qualifications framework. You need a link to the European qualifications framework, and there has to be compatible the Dublin descriptors with the lifelong learning descriptors of the European qualifications framework, and really important, all the higher education institutions have supported. Look at Switzerland, they were against it. Germany is fighting. In the Netherlands, there was no problem, but in some countries, there's a tension if you're looking at combining a national framework with the European qualifications framework. Okay, second part is vocational education training at higher levels. It's a very diverse sector, keep that in mind. We are talking about a sector in Europe, we're having discussions about vocational education training, but in every country they have another vision, they have an idea. So it's about vocational education, more formal. You have the training program, more public financed or private. You can offer by colleges, business academies, etc. So in the European context, and that has been decided in 2013, the highest level for vocational education training in a formal context is number 4, because that's the entry level to higher education. But there are also qualifications offered by HVET institutes at level 5. You're, as Craft College, you're an example of that. You're offering qualifications at level 5, and maybe higher. It can be 6, also 7. But, and that's the discussion where we're involved in as Chain 5, it is the status, what's the formal status of those qualifications in the international context, in Europe, and then, of course, in your national setting. It's important that you can use the international status. So far, they call it higher vocational education training. But at Chain 5, we had also the discussion in the last 2 years. Maybe we need another name to emphasize the status and orientation. We don't compete with the European higher education area. Maybe you can call it vocational professional education, combining vocational and professional. That's related to the labor market. And then talking about level 5, 6, 7, and 8. The attention is really growing. It's growing very fast in the last year. A lot of discussions have been on higher vocational education and the role of those type of qualifications, because the need for the labor market is pushed by social partners looking at lifelong learning, progression from HVET to higher education. And maybe you have seen the documents, will be published on our website. We had the Pact for Skills, signed last week. We have the Osnabrück Declaration. It will be published in the end of this month. Really, really important for colleges are offering higher vocational training. It's supporting really what you are aiming for. And they have recommendations. So the question is, can we use this momentum for having a process for what we call VPE, short cycle higher education, etc.? Can we start formulating criteria for those qualifications? And really important, do we need a European VPE area? Do we have to parallel to the higher education, because they have the Bologna process, they have the European higher education area? Do we need more attention for colleges, institutes offering those types of VPE of high vocational education training? Do we need a similar process for that? So, and then we have higher education, VPE, and business. And the question is, can we help Chain 5? Yes, maybe. Yes, there's time for action. Yes, we have the instrument, because the European Commission wants to have all the sectors combined, taking care of learning pathways, using formal and non-formal qualifications, recognition of prior learning, having lifelong learning for everyone, and a lot of discussion also by micro-credentials in a fast-changing world of work. So this is the instrument. There will be in the next 4 years a discussion about having in Europe a European education and training area that will include universities in Europe, the Center of Vocational Excellence. So if you as colleges are offering high vocational education training or similar qualifications, take part in this discussion. It's about combining all those sectors. So, and Chain 5 can do, we can talk about level 5 area. We can support for high HVET VPE, starting a process, do research. CEDIFOP will having research. OECD is doing research for the European Commission. There's a community under EPALA. EPALA is for adult learning. And like I said, we can use those European actions for the Established Declaration, Pact for Skills. And mentioned in those documents, we need effective scenarios for after COVID. If you want to have the more information, look at the website, Chain 5. If you need answers on your questions, because it's a very technical story about this framework, send an email and you get answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans, for showing us what are the problems, the benefits, and the future changes of the EQF level 5. A lot of the aspects you have mentioned, we got also aware during the development of the joint qualification of the expert in building automation, especially how to promote it, how to give it the right meaning and recognition, not only of the educational sector, but also of the labor market.
Absolutely.
I will also use the opportunity to invite you all to the Chain 5 annual conference, which will be organized next year from the 10th to 12th of March, online and in presence here in Zagreb by Chain 5 and Prague College.
Yes.
An especially interesting event for those ones who would like to participate more at the EQF level 5 area and maybe change some things in their countries.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. So the next presentation will give us insights how an existing program in building automation is being run in a vet school at different levels. So Branko Dvoršak, I invite you for the next presentation. Branko Dvoršak completed his master's studies on Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences at the University of Maribor in 2010 with a thesis, Self-Sufficiency of Energy. He works as a professor at the Higher Professional College of Electronics and the High School of Power Engineering in Velenje, Slovenia, where he teaches the technical mathematics and other professional subjects. Branko, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just a second to start my presentation. I hope this is running so you can see my presentation. Okay, as mentioned, I'm a professor at School Center Velenje, where I work these last 27 years. And I will talk about smart system and smart homes in school curriculum and other educational forms. The beginning of teaching smart systems at our school dates back in 2012. That was the year when our school was organizer of national competition of all electrical schools in Slovenia. The task of that competition was to program small smart installation. For this purpose, we have developed our own learning modules with smart elements. The competitors had to install these elements correctly and then connect them accordingly to a given plan. The next task was then that the elements has to be programmed to function as required by the task. Because none of the schools in Slovenia in that time had smart elements, we equipped all Slovenian schools with the learning modules we developed at our school. Even the teachers at these schools did not know yet about KNX technology. So the first thing was to teach the teachers all about KNX. We conducted in that year 2 educational seminars for the teachers that last 16 hours so that they prepare students for the competition. The task for competitors was not hard because this was the first time that they programmed smart installations. This competition was an opportunity to equip all electrical schools in Slovenia with smart technology, and we did that. Since that year, we have held 1 or 2 seminars about different smart systems, not just KNX, for electrical schools teachers. So far, we have conducted different seminars for different levels of knowledge, from seminars for beginners to advanced seminars and special seminars. At these seminars, teachers learn about new smart technologies, new systems, and new elements which they can buy from us and then use it in classes. From every school, at least 3 or 4 teachers already attended 1 or more of these seminars. 3 years ago, our school was co-organizer of another such a national competition of electrical schools in Slovenia. The task was again to program small smart installation, but this time it was a little more demanding, as students in Slovenia now know a little more about smart installations. At the school where the competition took place only had 1 learning module, so for the competition's sake, we made for them 8 new learning modules. So you see, this is the one way how the school can acquire new learning modules. However, we do not teach new smart systems only to students and teachers, but also others. So in addition to teacher trainings, we also do seminars for those who work in industry and electricians that are self-employed. Every year we had held many such seminars as more and more people want to have a smart home. The number of this kind of seminars at our school is now rapidly growing. We started with 1 seminar per year, and now we have around 3 to 4 seminars for such participants. In all these years, we educated more than 150 electricians, and that don't include teachers. In last few years, we also had seminars about smart systems for unemployed people too. In our school, students attending electrical engineering school have 1 optional course named Modern Installation Systems that last 16 hours. Most of these hours are devoted to laboratory exercises where students program different smart installation systems on their own computer and own learning module. In a similar way, students attending mechatronics school have similar course named Smart House lasting 50 hours. But in our higher professional college, students who are to become electrical engineers also have optional course named Internet of Things lasting 60 hours in 1 academic year. They upgrade their knowledge acquired in high school. A lot of them complete their education by preparing diploma thesis in the field of smart homes. Let me say that you can find many different smart systems on the market today. Not every system is the best for everybody, so it is difficult to decide which one is the right one for you. You must not believe everything that sales engineer says. He will sell you the one he wants to sell you if you are not careful. So because of that, we at our school think that nobody is or can be an expert in all smart systems. Also, the school cannot teach students all different smart systems, but we can teach them 1 or 2 very well. And more important than that, we can teach them how to decide which system to use in which case. That was the reason why at our school decided which 2 systems we will teach our students well. All of the other systems are given to students informative. I'm glad that one of them is already mentioned, KNX systems, which is standardized all over the world. Every year on our school, we have 1 week in school, what we called a project week. Every teacher suggests his or her own theme. My theme is always smart homes and smart systems. In this way, computer science students from our school who don't have such an optional course can also gain new knowledge about smart systems. During all this time, I wrote some instructions, for example, how to decide to have or not to have smart house, another one called use of smart installations, and one named which smart technology is the best for you. You can find a few of them on internet. I also write few examples for dummies on how to switch on or off the light, how to dim a light, and how to control the blinds using smart system technology. These are all written in such a way that everybody with knowledge how to use computer and some technical knowledge can start to build his or her own system. A few years ago, we include remote control smart systems. This has been a must-have for several years now, and that is one more thing why students want to learn how the smart systems work. They want to control everything with their smartphones. So every learning module in our laboratory contains an element that allows to remotely control such installations. Last year, we also included the increasingly popular voice control of the smart installations. This can be achieved in a variety of ways. We decided to use product developed by a Slovenian company, which I can say works very well. Now students can control their installation using voice control too, with the use of web assistants like Alexa, Google Home, or Siri. In addition, a smart house is not a smart house if it does not contain a visualization system. There are many possibilities here as well. Every smart device manufacturer offers its own system. The problem arises when we have a lot of applications on our smartphones at once. That means one application for one smart device. So the solution of this problem is one single control system, that is one single application for all smart devices in our home. At our school, we choose one that allows this and which we also teach. I have to say that we at our school are ready and willing to participate in any kind of such a future trainings due to our own development and manufacturing of learning elements as well as instructions and examples. Just for a record, from 1994, we equipped all Slovenian schools with certified laboratory tables in which different instruments and elements are built in and which are now used and are the same in every electric school in Slovenia and even in 2 Slovenian universities. So I can assure you that we are a reliable and trustworthy partner. I would like to end my part of this video conference by saying that if a former student gets in touch with me and lets me know that he or she knows smart systems better than I do, then I did my job well. So that is the reason why I work where I work and I do what I do. Okay, in behind you have seen some pictures from our seminars from people in industry and in schools. So with this, I will end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Branko. Branko was also one of the experts conducting the Train the Trainer event in Novo Mesto in Slovenia within our project. I will be sure your presentation that it's an inspiration also for other colleagues from vet schools and even maybe make an opportunity to connect and further develop the educational offer. Although we're running late, for what I apologize, I will open the possibility to questions and answers to all the speakers. Please use the chat box and note to which presenter the question is dedicated. There is a question for Mr. Dvoršak, for Branko. I think there are enough interested teachers for your courses in our vocational schools. Have you offered our seminars to our Ministry of Education? Is there a chance to include them in our curriculum, for example, to improve the competencies of teachers?
Yes, as I said, we already have 1 to 2 such seminars every year. Maybe not every year, but they are at our CPI. That means, wow,
Institute for Vocational Education and Training
yes, thank you.
of the Republic of Slovenia.
So you can find us there, or you can contact our school or me, and we'll tell you when or how to participate. So no problem.
Okay, it seems that there are so far no questions. I would like to use this opportunity to say thanks to all the speakers for the interesting presentations. Once again, Dimitrios Athanasiou, Michal Postranecki, Lorenzo Nisim, Franz Bogovic, Hans Dahl, and Branko Dvoršak. You all gave us a great insight from policy development, future ideas for cities and villages, as well as the status of educational offer and its challenges. At the end of the conference, I would like to thank you all for participating. We had in one moment more than 130 participants. This is a great number and makes us proud of our project and our efforts. Once again, I would also like to thank all the project partners from Croatia, Slovenia, and Italy, as well as our associated partners. At the end, also special thanks to the team behind the scenes of this conference, Julia from ECHIPA and Goran from Craft College, which enabled more or less a smooth technical implementation of this project, this conference. Thank you, everybody, and see you maybe next year somewhere else. Thank you and bye.